Well, the narrative in John's Gospel starts to gather pace now as we get into John chapter 10. We've just had the second sign of Jesus, the first sign, him healing the paralytic, the second sign, which we've just seen, him giving sight to the blind man at the pool of Siloam. And we're going to see his last sign in the Gospel of John in a few weeks' time. But in between, we have this wonderful declaration from Jesus, this prophetic fulfillment in John chapter 10, where he comes and he's still engaging with his disciples, but also the religious leaders who are seeking to put him to death. And he says this: I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He actually says it 3 times in this little discourse in John chapter 10. The religious leaders are really coming after him and don't like what they see. But Jesus is really looking back to the Old Testament, to 2 places in particular, but actually you see it scattered at many places through the Old Testament, primarily Ezekiel 34. In Ezekiel chapter 34, you see God condemning the rulers of Israel. They're called shepherds. And he asks this question of the leaders of Israel in Ezekiel 34. He said, should shepherds not feed the sheep? The problem is they haven't been. They've been leading the shepherds astray, the sheep astray. They've been leading the sheep away from nourishment, away from God. And they've been leading them into danger. So God says in Ezekiel to his people, I will rescue my sheep from their mouths, that they may not be food for them. As a shepherd seeks out his flock when he is among his sheep that have been scattered, so I will seek out my sheep, and I will rescue them from all places where they have been scattered on a day of clouds and thick darkness. And he goes on in Ezekiel 34 to give this beautiful picture of a great shepherd that will come and gather in his sheep from all nations, from all tribes, from all places of the earth. And what do we see in John's Gospel? Jesus comes, God's Son, as good shepherd, to draw in those from every tribe, every tongue, every nation, every corner of the earth. And in contrast to the shepherds that Israel have at the moment, both in Ezekiel's time, 400 years before Jesus comes incarnate, and in Jesus' time, and in our time, in contrast to the bad shepherds who try and lead God's people astray, Jesus says, I am a good shepherd. You might remember that phrase maybe from Psalm 23. When God says to his people there, he says through David, he says that he is the good shepherd again. He says he will lead his people by still waters. That is the kind of shepherd that God is for us. And he stands out amongst a plethora of wicked and bad shepherds, both in Jesus' day and in our day. He does lead us by still waters. He leads us to green pastures. He leads us to good food. But also, right in the middle of John chapter 10, we have this incredible declaration from Jesus. As the good shepherd, he says this: the thief comes only to kill, steal, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. John chapter 10, verse 10. Here he contrasts the 2 types of shepherds in the world. Those who come to kill, to steal and destroy, and him, the good shepherd, who comes to bring us life. And life in abundance, life in all of its fullness, life as it is supposed to be. So who are you going to follow today? The corrupt shepherds of this world, and they could take the form of I don't know, other types of religion, other faiths that you might subscribe to. Folks, they could even be yourself. Our hearts are deceitful. Our hearts are desperately sick, the Bible says. And we can lead ourselves away from good pastures. We can lead ourselves into danger. We can lead ourselves into destruction. Now, who will we follow? False teachers, our own flesh, or the good shepherd, who always and every time leads us towards life, leads us towards nourishment. My hope is that you would follow him today. Even if you're a Christian, that you would commit yourself today to follow him, to listen to him, to go where he tells you to go, because it is always and every time towards life, towards nourishment, and towards peace.